Let's just sort my slides out. Welcome, everybody. So I'm really good at gut health. I'm not really great at technology. So if you can't see what I'm looking at and you get confused, feel free to interact with me as much as you would like. I would love this experience to be as beneficial for you guys as possible. So I'm so open to questions. Having said that, probably not going to sit in the chat bar. So if I miss a question, I will promise you that I will come back and check it at the end, or I will private message you if I have to. But welcome to my second What Women Want Masterclass. So this for me is about serving women. I love women. I'm a woman, obviously. And I feel like we as women get hit the hardest when it comes to health and weird vagina stuff and going through childbirth and stuff like that. But I think women are amazing. I think women's bodies are incredibly amazing. And I also think that we have the power to heal from absolutely anything. If you haven't already, pop yourself on mute. But yeah, we're gonna fumble our way through with my lack of technology skills this masterclass. And what we're really, the main driving focus of this, you know, as you see the title there, have you got the guts to be healthy? And this is because I truly believe that every single ailment, every single system in your body comes back down to how well your gut function is functioning. And so firstly, just to clarify that simply in itself, a lot of people will come to me and think, oh, I need to work on my gut health. And then they'll ravel off all these things that are kind of actually more specific to do with their digestion. Now, yes, it's absolutely dependent on your gut health, but they are two different things. Our digestive function is separate to our gut health, but it is influenced by our gut health. When we're talking about our gut health, we are talking about your microbiome. So that's the presence of the beneficial bacteria specifically. And then, of course, unfortunately, what we're finding is the presence of all these nasty bits and pieces that shouldn't be in there. It also encompasses our immune system, our gut-associated lymphoid tissue. There's a whole lot going on in there, but I'm going to really focus this on solutions for you guys that you guys can use to prevent disease. I think that's one of my biggest passions. I am unfortunate enough to be someone, I think everyone can probably relate to this, though, unfortunate enough to be someone who has been specifically affected by poor gut health. And I'm also someone who unfortunately has lost really, really dear loved ones to me through the horrible thing called cancer. I don't think there's too many people that haven't lost a loved one to this horrible disease. And I truly believe that we have more power over our health than what we sort of give ourselves credit for. And to me, it all comes back to your gut health and how well your gut health is functioning. And really, after I map all this out for you, even though there's quite a few steps and a lot of moving parts and things that we need to be doing to maintain your gut health, it's all doable. It's all doable. It's not expensive. And if we just had the information, the knowledge to be able to work our way through it, I really do think that we could have so much less autoimmune conditions. Women get hit the hardest with autoimmune conditions. So for me, this is about empowering you guys. It's about educating you guys. It's about giving you simple steps and hopefully maybe inspiring you to even come work with me if you like how I do things. So where are you right now? Just take a moment to check in. You may have amazing health, and I wish that for you. But even if you don't right now, the reality is there are so many things in our environment that you have zero control over that you will be exposed to that will impact your health and your gut health. So again, tune in, even if you're doing great right now, but these tools and tips and tricks and biohacks may also help you to prevent things future down the track. So based on my almost, I think about 17, 18 years clinical experience.
Come on, Casper.
What I'm really coming to notice that women want lots of vitality. Women want confidence. Women want a libido. Women want balanced hormones. Women want a nice slim waistline. Women want mental clarity. I would say 95% of the women that come and see me in clinic or choose to work with me in my online programs, one of the most debilitating things they complain about is brain fog. And brain fog, you know, it affects our ability to think straight. It affects our relationships because we become in this fog, and it leads to, reactive emotions and stuff like that. And so brain fog is kind of like this underlying thing that is linked with hormonal imbalances and a mismanaged gut microbiome. So this is what I'm going to support for you and really going to cover over the next hour. So just I like to give everyone a little bit of a warning before I get started. I think a lot of you know me already, but as you know, I talk really fast, especially when I'm passionate about something. I probably swear once or twice. I have this thing that my husband jokes about. It's called Staceyisms. So I will probably mix different words together and say words that aren't actually real English language words. Just go with it. If you think of it, if you hear any, please feel free to write them in the chat box. It's actually quite hilarious, and Trent will add them to his list. He's got a list of about 30 pages now of made up Stacey's and words. So yeah, let's dive in. Okay, so how this is going to work for you to get the best out of this, I need to challenge you. I need you to start thinking about things differently. I need you to start thinking outside the square, because this is a famous thing my grandfather always told me. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always have what you've always had. So really what we're wanting for you is some change. Change isn't fun. Change is a little bit scary. Change can feel too hard, let's be honest. But if I can empower you enough from over the next hour to make some changes in your day-to-day life, I guarantee that things will start to change in your physical body, in your health, in your relationships, in your world around you. Change isn't easy, but I promise you change is always worth it. So please just make the commitment to me right now that you're going to be willing to see things differently. And with that, obviously, again, you know, I'm a little bit left field. I may challenge some of the mainstream medical beliefs. So just bear with me. Have an open mind, have an open heart. Know and trust in me that, like I said, my passion, my purpose is helping people to live longer lives, helping people to live a life that is not just full of vitality, but it is inspired with an open heart. I want you guys to live your best life. And sometimes that means doing things a little bit different to the crowd or what maybe the mainstream media says. So just give me that little warning. So give me permission to coach you, to call you on your shit, to show you how to level up and to do things differently. Okay. I'm also going to talk about how you can work with me in the future if you would like to, if you feel like I'm someone that can inspire you and lovingly kick your ass in the right direction a little. So with that, as I know, the boot camp is my body biohacking system. That is the program that is centered all around gut health and hormone balancing and physical, spiritual, and emotional transformation. So I will tell you a little bit about that at the end of the presentation. So actually, well, basically just all you need to know about that program is it is the exact steps that I personally took in my day-to-day life.
Good boy.
When I first hit my health crisis, and I'll share a bit about that, where I was covered in chronic eczema. I was 14 kilos heavier than what I am now. I had, like I said, cystic acne all over my back. I'd been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. I'd also been told by a certain endocrinologist that I'd likely started menopause, and so the best thing that I could do was freeze my eggs. As a single 27-year-old, you can imagine how daunting that seemed. It was the journey that I took to learn to love myself and therefore get to where I am now. So it's been a big one. So I will tell you a little bit about that. And you can see there on the screen, if you're looking, they're kind of the broad steps of what we take you through, and they're easy to do. I'm going to map them out in a bit more detail as we move through. So basically, just quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit about all the ways in which the health of your gut microbiome, all its functions, okay? So let's run through. It affects your blood pressure. It affects inflammation. It affects your ability to detox chemicals out of your body. It regulates inflammatory pathways. It affects your cognitive function, your memory, your concentration, your focus. It is intrinsically linked to your skin health. It is associated with the lining and integrity of your gut. It helps you to absorb nutrients and break down food. It helps you to balance the gut motility. So whether you're constipated or have diarrhea, it affects your ability to break down cholesterol and therefore your cardiovascular health. It's involved with the production of all your neurotransmitters. Like I said, balancing hormones, your kidney function, your urinary tract. It impacts your fertility, your vaginal microbiome, and therefore all things associated with vaginal health. It affects in pregnancy, the health of your baby's outcome. Okay, it affects weight gain, fat storage, your obesity risk. It affects your immune system. 70% of the immune system actually resides within your gut. It has a lot to do with what enzymes that we produce and producing short-chain fatty acids. It regulates insulin sensitivity and blood glucose balance, thyroid production, stress. I don't think I need to go on. I think you guys will get the point pretty quickly. But there is literally, in my opinion, not one system in your body that isn't dependent on the health of your gut microbiome. Okay, it's huge. It is the center point for all things health. You cannot, I don't care what symptom that you may be struggling with, it will always tie back to your link. Yeah, tie back to your gut health. Okay. So it's going to affect our exercise recovery, our cortisol pathway, our anti-aging, collagen production. Like I said, fluid retention. It goes on and on. So here we have beautiful Shah, who I believe is online as we speak. So she's done an element of the work that I've done with me. And her testimony was that she did the 3-day colon cleanse process and she was able to shift stubborn weight. And you can see the photos speak for itself there. So thank you so much, beautiful Shah, for sharing your testimony and having faith in the program and doing the program, because as I'm sure Shah would say, it's a bit of a mental battle, that stage, but it is so worth it. And you feel incredible on the other side. And the reason it's so powerful is because it works when other things haven't worked. And for me, that's a winner, right? There's nothing more frustrating than doing all the things that Google tell us or that all those health influencers online tell us to do, but they just don't work for you. And that's my biggest thing. I'm probably the most impatient person in the world. Like, if I'm going to go to the effort of doing something, I want it to work, and I want it to work yesterday. So my protocols are based on biohacking. Okay, things where we get fast results. So this is me. This was not even quite 10 years ago. This was off the back of my journey. And you can see there, I'm pretty covered in eczema. And that was a pretty debilitating state to be in. I had eczema as a child, okay? Came and went through my adolescent years, but this flare-up actually occurred, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, but this flare-up occurred off the back. I think I was about age 23, and I went and had my travel vaccines before I had to go overseas. Didn't really know any better. I was just following what I was told to do by GPs. And I had my vaccines, and then I slowly started to break out in eczema all over again. And it was then when I really started to go, wow, I had that as a kid. What's the common denominator? For me, they created inflammation in my body. They destroyed my gut microbiome. They led to all these inflammatory pathways, and this is what I was dealt with. So the most debilitating part about this was so that I actually had that eczema for quite a few years, and I was doing all the things. Like, I was a qualified naturopath. I was doing the things. I was on a gluten-free diet. I was taking probiotics. I was exercising. I was doing all the really broad usual things, and it just wouldn't budge. Like, there was so much inflammation and so much damage done to my gut that it took me a really long time to clear that. So what I'm going to present to you guys is the things that I did that actually work, so that we can fast track. Now, you may not be sitting there suffering with eczema in that chronic nature that I was, and eczema is an autoimmune condition, but maybe it's polycystic ovarian syndrome for you. Maybe it's just painful periods. Maybe you're entering perimenopause and that's just giving you a bit of hell at the moment. Maybe you have an underactive thyroid. Like I said, any ailment, it doesn't matter what you got. If your gut is not functioning properly, you won't get the results that you need, because, like I said, you're going to hear in a moment, the gut is your second brain. Now, on top of my chronic skin problem, you can see I was carrying a lot of extra weight. It was very inflamed, very puffy. I had chronic constipation. I would go move my bowels twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And I kind of just thought that was normal, because that had been my story my whole life. I had bad candida overgrowth. I was completely addicted to sugar as a result of the candida. So it becomes this cycle. You got leaky gut, you're more susceptible to candida, so you eat more sugar, that feeds the candida. I was also drinking alcohol then. I was also forcing a high protein diet back then, because it was working for everyone else online. So I thought maybe it'd work for me. I wanted to lose the weight. High protein diet was the worst thing for me personally, in my blood group and my genetic type. So it's so important to have a connection to your gut. And another thing that I'm going to talk about for gut health is connection with your intuition. Your gut is your intuition. If your gut is inflamed, if it's overgrown with bad bacteria and parasites, if it's leaky, if you have heavy metals, if you have a mold overgrowth, then basically what's going to happen is you're going to look like me.
Hold up, I'm coming.
I'm just going to see if I can get you guys to mute yourself, if you wouldn't mind. Yep, that'd be great. So basically, I was a hot mess. And the worst, most debilitating part about it was I was trying so hard. I was trying so hard to be healthy. I was so ashamed of the fact that I was this newly graduated naturopath and I was at my worst health I could have ever been off the back of my degree. Like, how does that work? Here I was equipped with all this knowledge, and yet I was doing the things that I learned at uni. I was doing the things that I was reading in my textbook, and it just wasn't working because I still wasn't thinking out the square enough. I still wasn't connected to my body and my gut, my intuition. So I was doing what was working for other people. I was comparing myself to other people, and I was so frustrated. And so the stress just kept continuing. The self-loathing continued. The self-hatred continued. And I was just stuck on this treadmill of just trying anything and everything and just not getting anywhere. So it was a pretty debilitating part of my life. And that period really went on for quite a few years until I really figured it out. And then since then, really, I have not had any worries in my weight or my skin for about 10 years now. So pretty cool. So there I am after gut health, full of confidence. I always like to show that photo, even though it's obviously a bit risque, because I just want you guys to see that if I can go from being petrified of being in front of a camera, hating seeing myself, to being able to go and have a glamour boudoir shoot that I gave myself for my birthday to celebrate my journey, because this is what these photos represent. They represent how far I came, because I literally was the girl sitting in my bedroom scoffing myself with a whole block of chocolate because I hated myself, punishing myself, not wanting to be seen, to now being in such a beautiful different state of my life where I have met the love of my life. I'm running the business of my dreams. I love my body, happy to floor myself in front of a camera. I have confidence because of everything I've learnt. And it's not just for healing my gut. It's also the self-worth piece. It's also the self-acceptance piece. It's also the education piece. And it's definitely the gut health piece. So I have a clinic here in Alex Heads. For those of you who don't know me, I've published a book. You can find lots of free things if you head to my second website, thebalanceacademy.com.au. I have a lot of free content, so I'd love you to go check that out. So let's just start the process of getting your gut health right, but I want you to just check in with you. So do you personally have an autoimmune condition? Or do you have a family member, an immediate family member, meaning a mother or father or a brother or sister, that has been either diagnosed with cancer or an autoimmune condition? So check in with that. Second question to assess your gut health. Do you experience bloating or gas? And then third question, do you want to live as long as possible? So these are the three primary things I want you to think about as you move through this content and start to absorb it all, because it could be a bit of an indication as to the state of your gut health. So have you got the guts to be healthy? And what I mean by that is, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to make changes in your diet and lifestyle in order to help you to manage your microbiome so that you can have a thriving gut microbiome? So spoiler alert, I think I've already touched on this, so I won't dwell on it, but the reality is every single condition, every single symptom is inadvertently linked back to your gut health. So let's have a look at this. Some of the symptoms of things that will be caused by you having poor gut health. All right. Estrogen dominance, PCOS, endometriosis, menstrual irregularities, painful periods, PMS, PMDD, infertility, early menopause, perimenopause symptoms, osteoporosis, low libido, vaginal dryness, insulin sensitivity, hormonal acne, gestational diabetes, preterm birth risk, postpartum depression, pregnancy-related morning sickness, miscarriages. We can go on and on again. We look at under the mental health and brain function, all the things that are linked back to a poor gut microbiome: anxiety, depression, brain fog, chronic stress, insomnia, OCD, bipolar, ADHD, mood swings, postpartum anxiety, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, migraines, autism, and ASD. Every single people who experience these symptoms have problems with their gut microbiome. IBS, IBD, SIBO, leaky gut syndrome, chronic bloating, diarrhea, constipation, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, acid reflux, dysbiosis of the gut, food intolerances, non-celiac gluten sensitivity, celiac disease. Okay, and then we move into our metabolic conditions. obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Are you guys getting the picture? Your gut microbiome influences every single cell in your body. And I'm going to explain how that works in a moment. So bear with me. But high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, it's all linked back to your gut. Okay, here's all these autoimmune conditions. You know, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, Hashimoto's, multiple sclerosis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, mast cell activating syndrome. There's lots. Look at it all. It's all linked. And so the good thing about this is it's a simple step process. It doesn't matter what you have. If we treat the body, if we treat the system and we give the system what it needs, you can overcome absolutely anything. Okay. And here's some more common things that you're going to see: pigmentation problems on the skin, hair loss, premature aging even comes back to your gut microbiome, dark circles under the eyes. It's all continues. All our allergy and respiratory problems, so mold problems, anaphylaxis problems, histamine intolerances, asthma, seasonal allergies, chronic inflammation of the lungs, and then, of course, our sleep disorders, adrenal fatigue, sleep problems, restless leg, bone and joint conditions. I think you guys get it. All our neurological conditions, neuropathy, okay? It's all linked back to your gut microbiome, okay? And there's actually a lot of science now to prove that these 5 cancers are the 5 most linked to a mismanaged microbiome, okay? I'm still going, geez. Sexual urinary, this comes back to like vaginal health. So, yeah, and Nikki's just commented that she ticks a lot of them. Most of us do. Don't think, because when something goes wrong in the body, it's like this domino effect. All these other things start to show up because we've got this passage of inflammation. We've got our brain, our second brain, known as our gut, not sending signals to the body the way it's meant to. So we get mismatched communication. The body just generally starts to create dis-ease at a cellular level. Oh gosh, we're still doing. So here, firstly, I want you to see how many of these you tick off. So these are our gut destroyers, our gut busters. So these are the things that destroy your gut microbiome. Some of them may be new to you, but I'm pretty sure if you could go through them, you will all be exposed to quite a few of them. Okay, so let me read them out for those who are listening, and take note of the amount that you are exposed to on a regular basis. Stress. Geez, if anyone's avoiding that, good on you. NSAIDs, so our anti-inflammatory drugs. Xenoestrogen, so these are our estrogen mimicking chemicals in our environment. Oral contraceptives, non-organic makeups, artificial colors, fluoride from our drinking tap if you're not drinking filtered water, antibiotics, hand sanitizers, so antimicrobial products in general, processed foods, seed oils, perfumes, artificial sweeteners, vaccines, lack of sleep, cigarettes or vapes, herbicides and pesticides, which are poured all over our foods if you're not able to eat organic, candida, microplastics, and heavy metals. So as you can see, our poor little gut microbiome have a lot of things that they're contending with. So remember, your gut microbiome is a living organism. It's healthy, beneficial bacteria. So your job is to keep it alive. But all these things that I've just told you, destroy it, and are destroying it on a day-to-day basis. So what I need to help you guys with is keeping these guys alive for longer, replenishing them, and as a bacteria, ensuring that they're breeding inside you and constantly creating more beneficial bacteria. Okay, so your gut, as I've touched on, we've referred to it as the second brain, because it's based on what we call the enteric nervous system, and this is just a network of all these neurons or nerve cells that are basically embedded through the entire wall of the digestive tract. Okay, and so this system is now sending messages all over the body, just like the brain does, and it uses this via the microbiome and also all the nerves that are filtering through there. Okay, so the enteric nervous system plays a huge role in regulating your digestion, your motility, which is how fast we're moving food through your digestive tract, the secretion of enzymes, as well as influencing our mood and our immune system, our metabolism, and even our cognitive health. So this is why the gut is referred to as the second brain, okay, because of all these nerves that are basically moving through the gut, interacting with the beneficial bacteria. So how this exactly works is that basically The gut communicates mostly a few different ways, but the first way that it communicates is through the vagus nerve. And so the vagus nerve is a really, really important nerve. And if you've ever done any work in looking at the fight and flight response and trauma response and stuff like that, you'll know a lot about the vagus nerve. So it's the longest nerve in the body, and it acts as the highway. It's sending signals to the brain based on how it's perceiving information and picking up things. So it is the main thing that is activated in a stress response. So when you go into a fight and flight response, the vagus nerve is affected. So if you're someone that has chronic stress, over time your vagus nerve loses tone. Okay, so this is why chronic stress is so bad for your gut and your gut health and all things that encompasses, because then what happens is we lose the ability to respond and react quickly. Okay, and that leads to depression, anxiety, cardiovascular diseases, inflammatory conditions, gastrointestinal disorders, cognitive impairment, and metabolic disorders, endometriosis, PCOS. Again, the list goes on and on. If that gut response, that second brain response, is not perceiving information promptly, quickly, and effectively, because it's so stressed, because you don't have a good gut microbiome in terms of the beneficial bacteria, then you're going to get this like landslide of all these other symptoms and conditions that you're now then more susceptible to. So the other way that the gut works as a second brain and is communicating is through neurotransmitters. So your neurotransmitters really are largely produced in the gut. I know they have such an effect on the brain, so we kind of assume they're in their brain, they're our mind, they're our moods, but it all comes back to the gut. They're produced in your mood. So if you look at it, serotonin is often referred to as the happy hormone. Dopamine is the motivation hormone. GABA is also called the calming hormone, and acetylcholine the concentration hormone. So they're your four big neurotransmitters that a lot of you will have heard of in time. If you don't have a healthy gut, you're not producing enough of them, and that's going to affect your mood, your concentration, your motivation, and so on and so on and so on. So you can see how important your gut health is, and you can see that direct link, therefore, our mental health. Okay. Another big one that these neurotransmitters play a big role in is immune system modulation. So they're monitoring and basically assessing for when the immune system needs to produce cytokines in order to bring about immune responses. Okay. And neurotransmitters obviously interact with also your vagus nerve as well. So it is a complex system. I've done my best to break this down in point form so that you guys can really start to get a feel for the connection and just how important your gut health and what that encompasses. Right, so at this point, I've already overloaded you with a little bit too much information. I get that. So I'm just going to we're going to do a little activation. So this is just a little sample of what I do with my clients in terms of addressing your health emotionally and spiritually. And this is what we do in my coaching programs. We do group coaching calls every week where I help to connect you with your body. Now, I already told you about gut health. Energetically, this is intrinsically linked with your intuition. Now, I want all my clients to be working for their intuition, because here's the thing. I may have a degree in naturopathy, but there's actually nothing that I can't tell you about your health that your intuition isn't going to naturally already guide you to and inspire you to, if you're listening. But the problem is most of us are so busy. Most of us are so, most of us are just so busy being distracted by life and everything else around. Most of us have got a million and one things that we're doing. And so it's so hard to hear the messages, that subtle whisper that your intuition is screaming at you. So I'm going to do a little 5-minute process that's going to connect you back to your intuition. So if you're somewhere that you're safe to do so, please just close down your eyes. And I want you to start that process now of just connecting with your body. So I'd love you to place your hands on your body somewhere, anywhere at all, ideally maybe over your stomach area, our gut, since we're talking about gut health. Beautiful. And just start to connecting with your breath. Breathing through your nose for me. Out through the mouth. Your hands over your gut region. Connecting with that breath for me. In as slowly as you can through the nose and out the mouth as slowly as you can too. I want you to notice your heartbeat. As you continue to breathe slowly, gradually, I want you to also notice your nervous system. Does it feel frazzled at the moment? Does it feel fried? Does it feel overloaded? Does it feel overwhelmed? Scan your body everywhere else. Notice your joints, your organs, every part of your body. Does it feel stiff? Does it feel heavy? Is there any part, if your intuition were to lead you, is there any part of your body that feels blocked and rigid? That's right. You're doing beautifully. I want you to consciously relax your jaw for me. Consciously relax your shoulders. Start the process of connecting with your beautiful body. Your body has all of the answers. Your body knows exactly what it needs. Your body loves you. Your body has your back. What does your body need in this moment? That's right, allowing the answers to filter through. Just continuing to breathe gently, softly, at your own pace now. Just bringing your awareness to your gut. This beautiful, beautiful system. I want you to view it. I want you to see all the beautiful neurons and the bacteria moving around, working in unison together. Think of it like almost like a map. There's lines crossing everywhere. There's directions and signs. It looks busy when you step back and look at it from far. And it is busy. There's so much going on within your gut at every moment. Messages being fired off by that beautiful nervous system that we just spoke of. Thousands of times a second, sending messages to every part of the body, sending messages to your cells, sending messages to your organs, sending crucial messages that are keeping you alive, sending messages that are helping your cells to thrive. Take a moment to just feel into the enormity that is this beautiful network that is your gut. It's magic. It's a miracle. It's keeping you alive day to day. So tune into that. And I want you to just energetically use your hands to just pull out any heaviness. Imagine you're using your hands as if shifting energy just to pull out inflammation from that area. That's it. Following your hand, using your hand now just to pull out any bad bacteria, just grabbing it out and moving it away from your body, seeing it leave your body like a dark cloud. That's right. Seeing heavy metals jamming up the systems in there, jamming up the communication, and just energetically using intention to move those out of your gut. Beautiful. And now with your beautiful intelligence, performing some psychic surgery on your gut and just assessing the lining of your gut, seeing any leakiness and just using your imagination to repair those cells. Beautiful. Conscious mind is intelligent. And now I want you to see those beautiful healthy bugs buzzing around in there, and I want you to just send them some love. I want you to just take a moment to notice them and appreciate them and all the work they're doing for you day to day. And if you could tune into that beautiful bacteria, what would that bacteria have to say to you? What message does your gut microbiome have for you? What does it need? What does it need to feel? How can you support it more? Take a nice deep breath in. And allowing those messages to filter through now. That's right. That's right. You have the answers. You have the skills. You have the intelligence to heal your body. It is your birthright to thrive. It is your birthright to feel and look your best. And you have the power to create that for yourself. So these last few seconds, just take one last moment to connect, to ask any questions of your gut microbiome as you tune into your intuition, trusting that you have all the answers. And when you're content, you can open your eyes, you can wiggle your fingers, and come back to your conscious mind. And just take a little moment before we move on with the next part. Take a little moment to reflect on what you felt, what you saw, what you experienced in that process. We have the ability to connect with our body and to heal ourselves using frequency, using intention. We truly, truly do. I really believe that. And it's a skill that needs to be developed, connecting with your intuition. Welcome back, everybody. So here's some of the other sort of typical things that you may notice if your gut health is, these are going to be some of the what we call the frontline symptoms that you may experience, because a lot of the things that can be happening can be going on in the background and not working. Sorry, it can be happening in the background, creating inflammation, but you're not getting any disease signs yet. And that's like we call, silent illness. But the way in which your body will speak to you abruptly to get your attention, a symptom is always and forever only your body's way of getting your attention because it needs something from you. It needs you to tune in, to connect in and make a change, be that with your diet, be that with your thoughts, be that with your supplement regime. But your body is communicating with you. It's communicating with you that it has poor gut health based on a lot of these really obvious symptoms. Sugar cravings, bad breath, joint and inflammation, pain, allergies, sensitivities, anxiety, depression, skin rashes. Okay, this is how your poor gut microbiome is communicating with you day in, day out. Gas, flatulence, diarrhea, constipation, heartburn, reflux, IBS. So this is a case study of a young lady that I've been working with in clinic. She's 33. She has chronic fatigue syndrome and she also has multiple sclerosis. So this here is a comprehensive stool analysis test. This is quite an expensive test that we use. This is around a $500 test that costs to have these done. These are functional pathology. You need to have these referred to you from a doctor or a practitioner. And you can see this beautiful woman has 5 different infections in her gut. Now, this lady in particular is a special case because she was diagnosed with an MS a couple of years ago. She has been on a wellness journey and her diet is probably perfect. Her diet's better than mine. You know, it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, it's sugar-free, it's preservative-free, it's all organic. She's doing everything she possibly can from a diet point of view, and I'm so proud of her. And she was doing that before she even got to me. But she still had all her chronic fatigue symptoms. She had all her multiple sclerosis symptoms gradually getting worse and worse. And guess what? These infections in her gut are what are creating inflammation and affecting those signals to her brain and her central nervous system, which is what is causing her symptoms. So unless she had had this, now, because what I was also going to say, sorry, she was asymptomatic in a sense. She has no bloating. She has no skin rashes. She has no constipation. She has none of these symptoms on this page, the obvious ones, okay? But she's got a chronic disease, an autoimmune condition that's pretty life-threatening and chronic fatigue. So I just want to show you this to point out the importance of actually investing money into investigating your gut health, because sometimes our symptoms aren't just enough. And you can see she has 5 nasty infections in her gut that are what have led to her diagnosis. So this here on this next slide, what you can see now here is the normal bacteria. So this is the beneficial bacteria, that healthy microbiome that I've been talking about. And if you can see across the board there, pretty well every single one of them, minus that Oxalobacter formenges, she's almost chronically low, almost non-existent of all of them. So remember, this is the beneficial bacteria that is supposed to be sending signals to every single cell in her body, to every single organ in her body, to orchestrate all of the functions that the human body is supposed to do, and she's virtually got none. No surprise that we've got chronic fatigue and multiple sclerosis when you look at these tests. 5 pretty nasty infections and virtually no beneficial bacteria. Now, this is just a quick rundown of a couple of the infections that she's got there. Now, typically, the Methanobrevibacter presents with really obvious symptoms of, a lot of people with IBS have an overgrowth of this bacteria, so abdominal discomfort, a bloating, constipation, which can affect, the transit time moving through, which is why we end up with the IBS. Sometimes it's diarrhea, sometimes it's constipation. Same for Klebsiella pneumoniae. Quite often it presents with bloating, diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain, malabsorption of nutrients, okay? And it'll often lead to weight gain and weight loss, but weight gain in particular, and fatigue. So you can see it makes sense now when we take that microscopic look at what's actually going on in your gut. So I share information around these tests because for many years in my practice, I didn't talk about these tests because they're expensive. And so I wanted to try and help people and save their budget. But the reality is, if you don't know what's going on inside your gut, you'll never know, and you'll end up with a chronic disease if it's there and it's not there. So I truly have got to a point in my life where, you know what, $500 is a lot of money, but also going on holidays, which costs a couple of $1,000s, or buying new wardrobes, or whatever you choose to spend your money on, which is absolutely fine. But really, if it came down to life and death, and what I mean by that is, if we know what's going on in your gut, I can prevent the C word. Fuck it, I'm just going to say it. I can prevent cancer in your body, because all of my family members who have passed away from cancer, I've had this test done on them, and their guts were completely overrun with these nasty infections. Every single one of my client with an autoimmune condition who goes and has this $500 test done has nasty infections in their gut and no beneficial bacteria. So if we can have this test done, I actually recommend that every adult should get it done every 5 to 7 years and invest that $500, save up for it. I can prevent you getting sick. I can prevent you having hell going through perimenopause. I can prevent you from getting malabsorption problems and nutritional deficiencies. I can prevent you having metabolic disorders and all the other chronic neurological diseases. I can prevent you getting Alzheimer's disease. I know it's a big claim, but it's so obvious when we see the obvious causer of why we end up with food intolerances and rashes all over our body and brain fog and perimenopause. It's because your gut microbiome is so mismanaged. So think about that. I share this information because, as you know, my number one priority is you living longer. You living longer and a healthier life. So this is Steph.
These are the shorts that I bought.
She's just talking about how surprised she was because she's been on the boot camp system. She's gone through all the steps that I'm going to show you, and she just keeps losing weight. Like, what a shit problem to have. She just keeps losing weight. She's having to buy new clothing. Without intentionally trying to lose weight, she just keeps losing weight. She's down 10 kilos after following the bootcamp biohacking system. Pretty cool. Okay. So now I'm just going to talk specifically about gut health and weight loss and how that specifically works and why it is such an issue. So when you have dysbiosis and an overgrowth of bad bacteria, like you saw in this previous slide, it leads to destroying the good bacteria, as we saw, but it also leads to insulin resistance in a lot of people, which means your body is having to produce a shitload of insulin in order to bring your blood glucose levels down. The more insulin you produce, the more fat you lay, as in the more fat you lay on your fat cells. You get fatty, the more insulin you produce, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So we don't want insulin resistance. We want to reverse that. Okay. And you can't do that if you don't have a good gut microbiome. Okay. Bacteria plays a huge role in how efficiently that you extract your nutrients from food, but also how we extract energy from food. So it manages your metabolism. Okay. The good bacteria also plays a really influential role in the brown fat. And the more brown fat you have, the faster your metabolism will work. And so brown fat is a life-saving thing that's around your organs only. And the more brown fat you have, the more energy you burn. It's a simple sort of math. Your gut microbiome affects your appetite and your eating behavior. If you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria and candida and all that sort of stuff, I guarantee you're going to crave a whole lot of sugar, a whole lot of processed food, a whole lot of high calorie dense foods. And this leads to, appetite problems, essentially. Inflammation is caused by this dysbiosis so the overgrowth of the bad bacteria. And it affects and then dysbiosis affects your liver's ability to burn fat. Now, your liver is the number one organ which decides whether you're burning carbohydrate or whether you're burning fat. And guess what? It takes a whole lot more energy to burn a molecule of fat, a whole lot of steps to go through the liver to burn a molecule of fat compared to just using readily available glucose that's cruising around your blood sugar. So we want to encourage the body to work harder to go that extra mile to burn the fat. Okay. And then lastly, the gut microbiomes, that beneficial bacteria also influences whether we're storing fat or whether we're burning it. So if your gut microbiome's messed up, there's no way you're going to maintain a healthy gut. ran. So this is another case study. This beautiful girl has chronic anxiety and IBS. So with her IBS, it's one day it's diarrhea, the next is constipation, and it swings, multiple bowel motions a day. She tested positive to a little bit of candida there, not a lot, but mostly the blastocystis hominis, which is probably the peskiest parasite, and probably, in my opinion, the hardest parasite to get rid of. And so we've been on a journey. We've been doing frequency treatments, herbal medicines, and we've got to a point where she has no IBS symptoms at all anymore. And we're just about to retest it. Hopefully we've cleared that blasto, but it's been a journey, and it makes complete sense as to why she's been suffering so severely with the IBS when she had that guy hanging around. Now, on top of that, she has another 3 nasty infections in her gut that we've been treating. Again, I don't want this girl to progress to the next stage, which is autoimmune conditions. Same picture again there, as you see with her beneficial bacteria though. See all those ones? Basically, where it's got 1+ there on the screen, they should all be roughly at about 4+, minus the E. coli. You really want that sitting at about 2. But really, for a thriving microbiome, you want all those strains of beneficial bacteria to be up at 4+. And you can see quite a lot of hers are at 1 or 2. So just to tell you a little bit more there about those infections that we found within her. So again, same sort of deal, abdominal discomfort, altered bowel movements, diarrhea, constipation, excessive gas, leads to a lot of nutrient problems. So I'm also testing all these people with their vitamins and minerals, and a lot of these people have chronic malabsorption issues. So blasto, same deal, parasites. They reckon 80% of the population has one at any one time, which is pretty gross when you think about it. One of those little vampires sucking the life of you, eating your food, hijacking your nutrient supplies. But yeah, let's talk about how your gut health affects your hormones now. So beta-glucuronidase, I can't even say it, beta-glucuronidase is an enzyme that is produced by the healthy gut bacteria in your gut, and its primary function when it comes to women is breaking down estrogen. So what women don't understand about hormone balance is we're all producing hormones. In particular, when we're ovulating, we're getting a surge of estrogen, and then we get another surge towards the end of our cycle. So we produce the hormone's released from the ovaries and the other glands that are producing it. It jumps into the bloodstream, cruises around your body, attaches to anywhere in your body where you have an enzyme receptor. It does its job, it does what it's supposed to do. It brings about the hormonal change. Great. The issue with hormonal balance comes when we detach from that receptor site, we go back into the bloodstream, and this is where your liver, through the detox pathways, and all these beneficial bacteria, which produce the beta-glucuronidase, are supposed to then break down that hormone and get rid of it. That is not happening properly in most women, so we end up with estrogen dominance. And so we have this excess estrogen picture that is stimulating the receptors all day, every day. And that's what leads to the mood swings, the PMS, the weight gain, the painful periods, the heavy bleeds. It's not that you're producing too much estrogen or not enough. It's that we're not metabolizing it and clearing it out effectively. And so your gut microbiome is the most important thing. I rarely refer or recommend my clients go and get hormone testing, because I don't give a shit what your hormones are doing in terms of how much you're producing. I care about how your body's metabolizing them and bringing them back into balance. That is 10 times more important. Putting my clients' effort and energy into getting those things working correctly is far more effective than people taking synthetic hormones or even bioidentical hormones to simply mask the problem. We need to do the work on the gut to get your hormones balanced. If you want to thrive through perimenopause, if you've got painful periods, go on your gut. And so everyone who comes to me with painful periods or endometriosis, I don't just give them herbs for endo. I don't just give them anti-inflammatory herbs. I give them the step-by-step process to rebuild their gut microbiome, which then naturally takes care of their hormones, which then naturally takes care of all the conditions of estrogen dominance or progesterone dominance or deficiency. I'm getting a bit ranty, I can tell, I know. I'm just so passionate about this stuff, and I hate watching women try everything and take all these steps and do all these things that they're reading off Google thinking it's going to solve their problems, but they're missing just the foundational step. You've got to get your gut microbiome right, or you can spend all the money in the world on naturopaths and naturopathic supplements or doctors' prescriptions or functional pathology testing, herbs, unless you have a functioning gut microbiome. It's like, think of it like a bucket that's got a hole in it, and you're spending all this money on supplements or good eating, well diets. If your bucket's broken, you're fucked basically. And it's so easy to fix. It's not hard to fix. And I wish that everyone knew how to understand this and how to implement these steps that I'm going to teach you soon. Rant over. I love you. But yeah, again, just to show you, you can see there, so the way that progesterone interacts with your gut microbiome. So this microbiome, it's involved in the metabolism of progesterone, which affects your mood. Okay, same thing again, this particular strain, the Lactobacillus reuteri, is important for preventing depression, anxiety, all linked back to progesterone metabolism. And antibiotics drastically affect the health of the gut microbiome and hormone balance. So it's all related. When it comes to your thyroid, so a lot of science has proven that the more diverse your gut microbiome, that is, the more bigger range of beneficial bacteria in your gut, the more you're going to have a healthy hormone system, a healthy thyroid, healthy, every single gland needs a broad spectrum, okay? Same deal, absorbing all your nutrients. You can't absorb all the key nutrients you need to drive hormone function and gland function if you don't have a good microbiome, because you won't absorb your nutrients. All right, so I'm going to be fully transparent with you when I take you through the steps to creating beneficial bacteria. Every single thing here that I'm going to share with you are things that you could jump on Google and find out yourself online. They're kind of just the obvious things to do. Adding fermented foods to your diet. Adding prebiotic foods to your diet. Now, your prebiotic foods are the food source for the beneficial bacteria. So if you're not eating these beneficial prebiotic foods, you're not feeding, you're basically starving your good bacteria to death, okay? Bone broth and collagen. We know that supports and strengthens the lining of the gut barrier and protects things like leaky gut, okay? Moving on, you've got to have a lot of fiber-rich foods to, again, same deal, prebiotics, feeding that. It's about motility. It's about ensuring that your waste product is moving through and we're pooing properly, essentially. All these beautiful poly-rich foods feed the gut bacteria and prevent leaky gut. Healthy fats, essential. Again, you can't have a thriving gut microbiome if you're not giving the gut the right food, okay? These are all obvious no-brainer things. You didn't have to pay naturopath to learn these things. You can jump on Google. Now, obviously, I've spent a bit of time summarizing it all for you, but essentially, this is free information that is easy. So limit these things, limit sugar and artificial sweetener. We've kind of already touched on this. Limit your refined foods, minimize gluten and dairy if you're sensitive, which, sorry, spoiler alert, most people are. It's just the way that it's been genetically modified in this day and age now, especially with all this lovely bovia that they're adding to our beautiful cattle's feed. Everyone's sensitive to it. You can, but the reality is it's damaging your gut microbiome. So moderation, right? Okay, I'm not perfect. I eat cheese sometimes, but it's just to say most people are sensitive because of the chemicals in gluten and dairy, as opposed to you actually having a true allergy, okay? Alcohol, caffeine, these are all the obvious no-brainers. You know this. Chew your food properly. If you're eating too fast, your food's moving through undigested. You need to eat mindfully, okay? So you don't want to be overeating. You don't want to be eating on the run, because if you're eating on the run and your nervous system is in an activated state because you're dealing with someone doing something else, or you're trying to drive your car while you're eating, your nervous system isn't relaxed into the parasympathetic state where it needs to be in order to rest and digest, okay? Timing your meals, staying hydrated. These are all obvious things. I'm pretty sure that most people will understand and know these things already, okay? Supporting your healthy gut lining. So this is going to be essential fatty acids, your prebiotics, your probiotics, your polyphenols, your antioxidants, your L-glutamine, which repairs the gut lining, bone broth, aloe vera, slippery elm. These are all really beautiful, amazing things that will heal an inflamed, leaky gut. Even turmeric, so brilliant things. And these are things that you guys can readily, easily get from health food stores. You don't, like I said, you don't need to have much education to understand these basic principles, okay? When it comes to your lifestyle, also having a consistent sleep schedule, limiting blue light before you go to bed, because that will suppress your melatonin. Creating a relaxing night routine so to ensure that you're actually getting a really good quality sleep is going to be important. So having herbal teas, journaling, meditating, connecting with your partner, avoiding late night eating, all these things do absolutely 100% impact on your gut microbiome. These are things that you do want to take into account, and these are things that you want to start to implement if you are already identifying with a lot of the things that I've already told you about and already identifying with having some of those symptoms. Okay, Managing stress. Well, if anyone's got the answer to that, well, just let me know too, because that's going to be an ongoing thing. We're all exposed to stress. I don't think that anyone can avoid stress, but there are things we can do to help manage it. Remember, the less stress you have in your life, less inflammation, the less it's going to affect the nervous system, which is intertwined with your gut, which is what is then interacting with all the systems of your body, which is why your gut health affects every single system. Okay. Laughter, social connection. These are things that I feel like every single one of you would have already known before you even jumped on this masterclass, right? Okay. Exercising, avoiding overtraining, limiting antibiotic use. Like, in my opinion, you want to be on your deathbed to use antibiotics. That's the only time I'll allow you to use them. Switching your skincare product to natural products, so we're not getting all those xenoestrogens that will kill your bacteria. Okay. But here's the thing. If you do only those things that I've just told you, you're not going to heal your gut. And that seems like a freaking bit of a kick in the guts, doesn't it? Pardon the pun. But the reality is, if you only do those things that you find on Google, you're still probably going to have issues with your gut microbiome. Okay? Because there is so much more to it than these surface level things. I'm not discrediting these things I've just told you, because they're all valid and they're all beneficial, but they will not heal your gut in its entirety, and they will not prevent you developing autoimmune conditions if you're doing those things alone. So implement them, but no, it's not the full picture. No, there's more. So these are the things that are the real deal. These are the things that no one's talking about. These are the things that you actually, this is the work. This is the hard work. These are the things that you actually have to do if you actually want to overcome an autoimmune condition or prevent the C word or treat the C word. These are the real nitty gritty things that you need to get in and do. And it all comes down to regulating your nervous system, not just managing stress. We have to actually regulate the nervous system. And we do that, again, in boot camp through those guided processes each week where we calm your nervous system and connect it with your body. I give you tips and tools and things how you can do in your day-to-day life to regulate your nervous system. So a lot of work on the vagus nerve, okay? And yes, cold showers is one of them. I know everyone hates cold water therapy, but it's bloody brilliant for your nervous system and your vagus nerves, toning the vagus nerve. Okay, so the other things that we need to do, and this is also talked about, like we talk about the FODMAP diet and elimination diets, but I have met so many people that are doing that. And guess what? They've still got a shit gut. They're still constantly bloated. They're still constantly in pain. They're still constantly tired. They're still constantly got brain fog, because this is the full entirety that you need to do. And it's a lot. I get it. You can look at this and go, holy shit, I'm so overwhelmed. But I have created a step-by-step formulation that walks you through the process week by week, and you can get all this ticked off in 3 months. It doesn't have to be that hard. But look at these things, okay? You need to cleanse your colon. You need to assess your microbiome. So in my opinion, you need to save the money and you need to have a comprehensive stool analysis done, because you need to understand what you're dealing with in your gut. And I've never, ever, well, actually I had my gut microbiome tested last couple of months ago and I came back negative, no infections at all. But when I had it done 5 years earlier, I had a shitload. It was more than 5 years. But when I had it done when I was covered in eczema, I had about 10 nasty infections and it took me years to get rid of those, because I was still, figuring it all out. Okay. The one thing that most people, when they talk about gut health, no one ever talks about destroying the infections and the pathogens and the parasites and the candida, okay? This is a huge part of it. A lot of people go, just go on the FODMAP diet and it'll fix all your problems. I'm here to tell you it won't. Eliminating all the things that are triggering you is not going to fix the problem. You have to destroy the bacteria, the pathogens, and the candida, okay? And in doing that, you have to address the biofilm. A lot of these sneaky parasites and pathogenic bacteria are there and have been there for a long time and are resistant to everything, because they've developed this biofilm around them, which basically acts like a shield and protects them from the antibiotics or even the natural herbal remedies that we're using. It just bounces off them. We can't actually destroy them, okay? So we need to bind all the toxins as well, because these pesky bacteria and parasites are producing toxins and chemicals all day. And those toxins are what are stimulating your immune system. Then what are also triggering your nervous system. And they're also giving you brain fog and memory and concentration issues and inflammation in painful joints. So we need to also factor in the fact that we can't just cleanse the colon and kill the baddies. We've also got to bind all the toxins and remove them safely from your body whilst breaking down the biofilm, okay? We also have to stimulate your digestive secretions. We can't just remove the food that's irritating you and get a good night's sleep. We've actually got to trigger your digestive system to start working again. And most people will take digestive enzymes, which, yes, will give you a little bit of relief then and there, but I want to get your organs working again. I want to get your gallbladder working again and your liver working again and your pancreas working again to stimulate the release of lipase and papain, all these different digestive enzymes that you need. We need to stimulate your gut to produce hydrochloric acid to break down your proteins. A lot of us are reacting and get all these allergies to the allergens from pollen in the air that we're breathing in, or cat dander, or all these other allergens, because they don't have enough stomach acid to even break down these proteins correctly. Then you throw in leaky gut, and we've got these proteins that are not being broken down, probably sneaking into through the lining of the gut into the bloodstream where they're not meant to be. So then the little immune system goes, excuse me, shouldn't be here, and it mounts an immune response. It starts producing the histamines, the cytokines, and all these things which make you sneezy, which give you the allergy or the headache, or however the food allergy or the allergen in general shows up for you. So there's a lot to take in, I know. You've got to modulate the immune system off the back of that. Okay, so at the moment, we've got all these allergies. We've got an immune system that is trigger happy. It's like just going pow, 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 responding and reacting to anything and everything. So we have to give you a herbal protocol to calm down that response, like to just calm it right down. And it evolves again, but we can't do that because you can see this is like a jigsaw puzzle, and a jigsaw puzzle will not be complete if you don't put all the pieces in the right place. Okay, we also need to put healthy bacteria into your body, and taking probiotics by mouth is 100% a waste of your time and money, and it does nothing. Every single time you take probiotics by mouth, the acid in your stomach destroys it, and none of it ends up in your gut microbiome, which 90% of that gut microbiome actually exists in your colon and your small bowel and your bowel in general. So there's that. We have to detox the mold, antibodies, and the heavy metals that are also hanging around in your gut, which are dysregulating the immune system, which are stemming the inflammatory pathways, which are protecting the bad bacteria and the pathogenic bacteria and the parasites. Remember, they use heavy metals to mold themselves and build shields. We also need to address potential viruses that you've probably been exposed to. We need to repair the leaky gut. And then we have to, it's the last thing that I've put in there. We need to, sorry, I'm going to share my screen again. We need to also make sure that you're eating a diet in line with you, and we probably have to have some food intolerance testing done. So we're not just guessing. So lots involved. I understand that it can feel overwhelming, but if you follow a step-by-step method, you can absolutely overcome all of this. You can absolutely do that process. So here's some of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make when they embark on a gut healing journey. You know, you get on Google, you follow those practices, you start implementing things, you know, you buy yourself a couple of supplements, but we're focusing too much on just a FODMAP diet or an elimination diet. We're not addressing the pathogens. We're not feeding the good bacteria with prebiotics. We're not addressing the biofilm. We're not addressing and eliminating the mucoid plaque that builds up through the colon. People aren't taking their probiotics correctly, or the right form of probiotics for that matter. People are not repairing that communication, which is, again, our enteric nervous system. Okay, the nervous system is one of the most important things for your gut health, and no one's regulating the nervous system. We're not addressing the mold. We're not addressing, people get obsessed with candida. The amount of people who come to that, I did a candida diet. I'm like, great, but what about the bacteria in there? What about the parasites in your gut? Candida, in my opinion, only occurs if you've got a different infection in your gut first. Most people will have a bad bacteria like the ones I showed you in those case studies, which then leads to the build of candida. So just treating the candida alone, you'll go round and round and round in circles, okay? A lot of people are not doing food sensitivity testing, and therefore they end up with just eating a diet that's healthy, but still adding to the inflammatory response. Not addressing leaky gut, not using binders, and not addressing the digestive function. So, third case study for you here. This person here has really low secretory IgA, which is part of the immune defense. So this person keeps picking up more and more infections constantly. They've also got blastocystis hominis, and she has lupus of the skin, a whole lot of hormonal changes, and a lot of weight gain. another example of a woman who came to me already following a really beautiful diet, doing great things for herself, but was getting nowhere because of the shit show that was going on in her gut. And until we invested the money and did the test, she didn't get it. She wasn't going to get anywhere. And now where her rashes on her skin is clearing up, the inflammatory pathways have gone right down, the weight's starting to budge. Actually, she messaged me the other day to tell me she was pregnant. Yay! Forgot about that. So cool. So do the work on your gut and it solves all your problems. This is a picture of, you can see she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nasty infections in her gut that we would have never ever known about. Again, she wasn't struggling too bad with bloating. So you've got to overlook the obvious symptoms. 8 infections in her gut that was caused, which is what caused the autoimmune skin lupus, the weight gain. And then you can see there her beneficial bacteria. Same picture again. Hers is not quite as bad as the last one. There's a few there that are okay, but again, it's just so depleted in that beneficial bacteria. So how to heal. I've kind of already gone over it, but here's that summary again. Take a screenshot of this or whatever you want to need to do. I don't want to move that thing, but these are the steps, guys. If you follow all those steps, you will overcome any autoimmune condition you've got, any health problem at all that you've got. I swear by it, you will overcome it if you address and do all of these things. I know it's overwhelming. I know there's a lot of steps there, but this is where I come in. I can hold your hand through the process. It's actually not that hard. It's just a matter of having a system to follow step by step, having a morning routine to follow, having someone to hold your hand through the process and coach you through it. So because I hate saying this, but because cancer is on the rise and it's higher than ever before, we need to understand the relationship between that cancer and the microbiome. So your chronic inflammation, cancer is a disorder of chronic inflammation and immune dysfunction. So a disrupted gut will cause that. There's some key infections in the gut that are linked with it. Bad bacteria in the gut causes DNA damage and it produces toxins. It's as simple as that. So you can see how it's linked. Gut bacteria, which is supposed to regulate estrogen, leads to a higher risk of the estrogen-dependent cancers, your cervical cancers, your breast cancers, your endometrial cancers. So these bad bacteria and lack of good bacteria in the gut leads to systemic inflammation through that leaky gut and the weakened gut barrier. So hopefully it's all starting to make sense how it all leaks in. They've also found that if you don't have a good gut microbiome, you will not respond to chemotherapy. So if that's a road you're going down, you need to have beneficial bacteria. The chemotherapy will also destroy the beneficial bacteria. And these, as I think I linked this before, but these are the key cancers that are really, really linked to poor gut microbiome. So these are all things that we can avoid. So I tell you this stuff to give you back your power, okay? Because if we know better, we can do better. If you know what's causing your issues, we can uncreate them. We can reverse engineer it and we can fix it with a step-by-step process. So here we're just with the comprehensive stool analysis test that I've already told you, it's not a cheap test. You're looking at around $530-ish for the full spectrum. And this is what it tests. All your digestive markers and digestive enzymes, looks at undigested nutrients. It tests all your beneficial microbial health. So the good stuff, the bad stuff, the yeast, the fungi, everything I've showed you in those previous tests. It tests all your parasites, your pathogenic bacteria, your viruses, inflammatory markers, your secretory IgA, and also your stool characteristics. So you can look at, acidity levels and if we've got blood in there and all that sort of stuff. So it is a very comprehensive test, which is why it costs so much. You only need to get it done every 5 years. If you factor that in, really, when you think about it, the life-saving, in my opinion, benefits that it can have for you, it's a no-brainer that we would invest in something like that. So what I'm offering to you guys today, though, is that test would be absolutely free with bootcamp. So as you saw, bootcamp is a $2,222 investment to work with me for 3 months and to step you through every single step that I've just mapped out for you. And you're getting the comprehensive stool analysis test for free. So there's no excuse, really. Like, this is a really good time to invest it if you know that your body needs help. But even if you're feeling okay at the moment, if longevity and healthy aging and disease prevention is one of your highest priorities, like doing the gut healing program and going through those steps is your surefire way to prevent that you never, ever, ever get sick. So here's just a couple of the girls that have been through my boot camp. Lovely Nikki and a lovely Lisa. So both got brilliant results. When you commit to a program step by step, there's accountability, right? You're doing it as a group program. So you're doing it with a group of women. We're jumping online on calls together every week to pump you up, to motivate you, to explain things. We have the Facebook group as well where we're all interacting and motivating one another. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about more of that now. So essentially boot camp is your step-by-step process that's going to give you the certainty and the clarity to get to the root causes of the underlying things of your chronic diseases, whether you're there already with an already diagnosed autoimmune condition or whether you just want to prevent it in the future, whether you're struggling with weight loss, weight gain, perimenopause, those sorts of things. So boot camp will give you the shortcuts. Boot camp will give you what I learned over 10 to 15 years in 12 weeks, which is pretty cool. It is all about getting to the root cause of your problems. It's about addressing every single thing that I've just shared with you of your gut health that may be off. Okay. So if I could show you a system that was so powerful that it could change your life forever, would you be interested in knowing more? Here's Mel. She's done the program.
Good morning, friends. I wanted to hop on here to share my experience with Stacey and the Balanced Babes Bootcamp. Oh my gosh, what an experience. If you are sitting on the fence and you're looking for any reason to just move forward with this, that's why I'm here. I have implemented so many techniques and skill from the 8-week bootcamp into my everyday life with ease and grace. And it has been such an amazing journey. I'm doing liver detox shots in the morning. I've implemented coffee enemas, juicing, fasting, being aware of my patterns, learning skills and techniques to manage my emotions, better manage my relationships, and joining with a community that is looking to do the work, that is wanting to feel better, have better relationships, and just have a more optimal and fun life. And most importantly for me, I have not had to use painkillers for my menstrual cycle for 3 months now. And that is due to this 8-week boot camp and supplementation with Stacey and her guidance and her products. That is immense to not have to use painkillers. I've been having to do that for 30 years. So there's so many standouts. If you are looking and needing some assistance to make that breakthrough in your life, because I know what it feels like to feel like you have done absolutely everything and nothing is working or nothing seems to be working. This is something for you to catapult you into the next journey. And then it just keeps going on and on from there. I am a completely different person. And I am so grateful to Stacey and her skill set, her knowledge base, and her wisdom, and her support and friendship. I could not have done this without her. So I'm joining back in when it starts back up again. I highly recommend this boot camp, and let's get on and change your life. Mwah.
Oh, bless you, Mel. Yeah, Mel's been brilliant. So as I said, in boot camp, I can show you what I overcome in 15 years in just a 12-week experience. It is the bootcamp body biohacking system. It is a holistic, spiritual, physical, and emotional. So this program isn't for you if you're not willing to do any work, though. Like, it is going to require change. It's going to require some commitment, but we deliver this in a way that makes it easy, that makes it fun, that makes it doable. But yes, there's work to do. You get lifetime access to the program, so you can work at your own pace. But you've got to ask yourself, are there family histories of cancer and autoimmune condition in your house? Are you sitting around waiting for the next diagnosis? Are you sick of having brain fog? Are you sick of having painful periods? Are you sick of trying everything with your diet and lifestyle and not responding? It's probably because of the hidden lurking things in your gut. And if we do this functional testing and then follow a step-by-step program, we can get to the bottom of it without any guesswork. More testimonials, you don't need to hear about these, but obviously there's a lot of women who've gone through the program and loved it and just started to feel better about themselves. So we look at gut health and we address the physical. So nutrition, cleansing, movement, we balance your hormones. We do the emotional evolution, which is the work as the group where we're going within. We're doing breath work, we're doing Psych-K, we're doing guided meditations, we're doing EFT, we're doing all the many things that I've learned to address the emotions and your connection to your emotions. It's about teaching you how to feel. It's about teaching you to connect with your intuition so that you are driving your own healing program. We do activations and we really get into the feminine embodiment to address the spiritual element to your disease as well. Lovely Nikita lost 5 kilos in just one of the 3-day processes, which was really, really cool. She said, what the heck? 5 kilos in 3 days, what the heck? So the 12-week transformation, it's your holistic answer to all your hormonal baggage and body shaming. There's just another sort of breakdown of what we do. We balance your hormones, we get your gut health thriving, we look at your genetics as well, we understand we regulate your nervous system, we teach you how to live a low tox lifestyle, we teach you how to love and accept yourself, we teach you how to connect to your body. And I truly believe that when you have a clear step-by-step page to follow, you get 100% results. And you're working with me in a group setting and on a one-on-one capacity. So again, I fumbled my way through this for over 10 years to get to myself to this point I am in my life where I feel confident and I feel energized and I feel in love with myself. I'm going to show you how to shortcut it. So just to give you a quick rundown of exactly what's involved, and then I'll let you guys go. We're almost finished. You get your 3-month group coaching program. You get access to the education portal where all the trainings and educations and videos are. You get lifetime access to that. You get your one-on-one naturopathic assessment where I'll basically go over your test result with you, map it out, and specifically design your program. Just tweak anything that, specific for you and make sure we're touching everything you need. You get your comprehensive stool analysis test. So you can see that's worth over $500. You get the Facebook support group. You get the emotional evolution system, which is our group coaching, the actual healings. The amount of inner healing that's done in that 3-month period is transformative. You will be a different person. You'll have different relationships with your partner, with your kids, with your work colleagues. It really does transform you and get you back to your truth. There's a list of different blood tests and referrals and interpretations. You get your printable program guides. You also get your self-care supplement package. And my light went out before, but I'm going to show you the self-care supplement package because it's a huge, and this is worth nearly $500 in itself. So this is essentially all the supplements that you need for the program. So you don't have to go and spend a lot of money beyond the cost of the program. The colon cleansing stuff, your enema kits, your yoni steaming herbs, your cacao, your castor oil, all your parasite cleansing herbs, candida herbs, my essential oil blends for bringing your digestion, your gut, everything you need. It's all $500 worth, your probiotic therapy. It's pretty generous what you get as part of your package. And I do that though, I make it all inclusive though, because as if anyone wants to stress of hidden costs while you're already going through a program and better, as if anyone wants to stress of having to go and shop at different health things and have to order heaps of stuff online. It's all here for you in a neat package. So the value for the program is over $8,000, but as you already know, I do offer this for $2,222. That's an upfront payment, or I don't know why I can't get my thing to move to the next slide now. I don't know what it's doing, or there is a payment plan available over a 4-month period as well. Obviously, we're not all necessarily not going too far. So
I have endometriosis.
Brady's gone through the program as well
for 20 years, and I can confidently say that when I have done Stacey's program, that now I am pain-free. So I'm usually bedridden. There could be 3 weeks of the month where I'm in pain. And now, since I'm applying all of the content that I learn in this program, which I'm so thankful for, thank you for your life work, Stacey. I align with everything that you teach. And since applying everything, I'm able to now live a life where I'm in control and I am pain-free again. So it's been quite a long time. So I do stress to people everywhere that we can heal ourselves. And this program itself, it is called the hormone healing system, but it's just a complete healing system. It's mind, body, and spirit. And I'm just so grateful. And I can't wait to keep doing it with all the other bootcamp babes furthermore. All right. Thank you, guys.
So at this point, this is where your ego is going to kick in. I know how the mind works, and this is why I do a lot of work on the ego and the mindset, but your ego is going to kick in and say, I can't afford it. Or your ego is going to kick and go, oh, but I've got so much coming up over the next 3 months. I can't have the time. I don't want to commit to it. And it's just normal for these things to kick in, but I'm asking you to dig deep and work through the resistance if you know intuitively that you need to do something and you need to make a change for your health, because nothing's going to change unless you change. And I'm offering an opportunity for us to hold your hand, for us to laugh about the hard days, for us to give you a different strategy, for us to implement and change it when things don't work. We keep going until it works for you. And the things that you will learn are things that you will take away with you for life, that you can share with your family and your children as well. So I do also offer higher level support if you're like, you're all in, but you know you need more one-on-one support. My one-on-one mentoring is where you literally work with me every single week, and we do one-on-one Psych K sessions and just a bit more level. To work with me one-on-one, it's a $6,000 investment. So the group option is obviously very affordable, very, very, you get just as much exposure to me because I'm in the group talking to people every single day. I'm on the group calls weekly, and you get your one-on-one call with me anyway. But I really, as I close this, I just want to share with you that I believe wholeheartedly in this program. This program has changed my life. This program I am the result of boot camp. I look the way I do because of everything in boot camp. I thrive the way I do because of everything I do. I have a beautiful relationship with my husband because of everything I've done, because of everything I've learned that is packaged for you in boot camp. So if your heart calls you, if there's any part of you that is interested, send me a message. We can get on a phone call and chat. I'm also open to extending payment plans longer if you need to, because I would rather you get started than sit and in the same stories and the same pain every month, or the same just frustration of trying things and not getting the results, because I know that this program works, and I have 100% guarantee you that this program works and that you will get results. I have fine-tuned it and fine-tuned it and fine-tuned over the last 10 years to ensure that it does work. So if you are truly ready to see things differently and take a different approach, just like declare it for yourself, give yourself permission, and I promise you that you don't have to feel the way you always do. So thank you for bearing with me this long. I know I talk a lot and I know I talk fast, and I hope that you have found the information inspiring and informative. And I hope that you can see now truly what it takes to be healthy. And that can kind of be a double-edged sword in that it can feel a bit overwhelming of all the steps that I've told you need to do. But like, knowledge is power. Okay. I'm tired of people making decisions for their health, thinking it's the right thing for themselves, and then ending up with diagnosis down the track. This is, an opportunity for us to really pull back the covers, get really up close and personal with your health, and do all the things that we truly can't avoid doing, so that you can live a long, happy, healthy, fulfilled life. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If anyone has any questions they would love to chat to me about, please either pop in the chat box now or feel free to message me privately. And I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Dace.
Welcome.
Lovely to see your face.